Yeah.
She is about the business plan.
Okay. I guess it'll be under new business.
It's not really new business though.
Okay.
Sure, wherever you
We
look.
can put it under there
That's
for.
just fine.
5.7.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Nice. Anything else? The adoption of the minutes as amended. Thank you. Is that consent?
Approval of agenda.
Approval of the agenda is always in.
No, you said no.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry. Approval of the agenda. Yeah. We all do that?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Second, Kathy?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. All in favor, yes, thank you. Adoption of the minutes. Everybody have time to,
Oh, you didn't see me happy birthday. I can see that in a minute. Oh, is it today? No, March 12th. When was the last time we met?
Oh, I wasn't here, so.
we can add that. after.
No, it's okay. March 12th, that's when we met.
Everybody okay with those?
Yeah. There's no one. No. Right.
And we'll consider those moved and adopted. Thank you. Public comments and negative action items. All right.
I did mine.
Shauna, do you want to,
Sure. So action items, starting on page 4. Contact Darren Gannett in terms of being on the ferry, commuter runs, that has happened, and 2 times, we've been on the ferry twice. Revising the information boards, that's done. Revised communications plan for the next 9 months, that's done.
Where are you? Oh, you're on page 4.
Yeah.
Staff workshop, that's done. They're all done.
wow, nice work. Absolutely. So new business, 5.1. A debrief. Sure. When you get a chance. Take your time.
Not that we're all watching you now.
It is very dead. Okay, we had a staff workshop on June 5th with approximately, all of the staff were invited, approximately 25 participated, and we provided lunch as well.
She's over.
She's like, oh,
yeah.
I told you there would be 3. So the workshop, we split into 2 parts, so the overall project information, and then just concentrating on the BIM office concept plan after lunch. Drew Rose came and Emily Sider came as well, and they were able to walk everybody through like a 3D computer rendering of the space and the offices, which was nice to be able to sort of see how we would be in the space. And Helen put together a PowerPoint we worked together on that. And then I did most of the presenting for the staff. I think in terms of the overall project, the staff asked good questions. We had good dialogue around that, and everybody was all well received. And then the BIM office component, we focused on kind of best practices in open office concepts, how we got to the current design, and some of the considerations around potential satellite offices that we may or may not have, as well as the goals of reorganization in terms of being able to have cross-departmental working together and being able to do that in a space that is also easily accessible to the public, and just looking at ways of making that happen within the current space that we have. So we're getting a lot of feedback. We got quite a bit of feedback.
Is this part of the feedback?
This is part of the feedback. So this has been sitting on the back counter for about a week now. And what we did is everybody who will potentially have a seat here has a sticky note
Okay.
And there was a flurry of activity within the first hour of people putting the names where they thought they would sit. But that was just sort of based on assumptions that a couple of people were making about who works together and who needs what. So it is a little bit of a social experiment that was happening back there. So Helen and I realized that there was a little bit of ownership happening over certain seats and why. So we decided that we would take a photo of what everyone had done, and then we took all the orange sticky notes away, so that with the intent that people would then come back and reconfigure things.
Okay.
People who came when the sticky notes were all like bums and seats kind of thing on this plan, other people came by later and were afraid to move them. So we wanted everybody to have some input. So we've taken them all away.
I had no idea.
And now nobody has touched them. So we'll have to just encourage people to do that with different configurations, I think. But so we're gonna leave it out there for a couple more weeks, and then the intent is that Kathy and I will meet with each department separately, and some departments together, like building and planning we'll probably meet with together, admin and finance I think we'll meet with together, and look at their specific needs and just really kind of boil down what they need in terms of proximity, reception, proximity to each other, tables for plans to be laid out on, and so that'll happen, I think, the second week of July. We're talking about starting that. And then we'll compile the feedback and probably talk to principal too about the possibilities of what is possible in that space.
Yeah.
And then we'll get the staff all back together again to kind of show them what we've come up with again, like based on all of that feedback. And working with the systems officer, or office furniture systems designer, who principal has already been in contact with, about what the open office workstations can look like and how to configure them to meet the needs of the staff. So that's kind of where that's sitting at the moment, because these pieces are like, they call them kits. So you can get higher bookshelves or lower shelves, or you can get acoustic baffling between people's desks and things like that. So
cool. That's
where we're at with the staff debrief and working with the staff to configure that space.
What's the general feeling?
I think it's mixed. I think it's change. It's change, and I don't think we're quite happy with change yet.
No.
But we're kind of
working
towards that.
Super. And it's I mean, once you do this, it's not set in stone either, right?
No, the furniture would all be movable.
Yeah.
The closed offices obviously would be set in stone, but Helen also did some measuring, and because the intent is that there might be 2 people within each closed office. They are big enough to have 2 people. So the closed offices are just slightly smaller than Raj's current office.
So they're fair size.
Biggest one we got.
No, mine is.
Yeah.
Yes, we all know that. Yeah, no, Daniel's is.
Daniel's suite.
Penthouse.
And then the open office workstations are about the same size as Sophie's view desk.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So
okay.
they're quite sizable.
So
that's all right.
people are, now that they can visualize it, that has actually helped as well in terms of more positive response, that they can visualize what the size is. So
Is that and just because it's peaked roof, but it's not, it'll just be like a drywall ceiling in there.
it's skylights.
Really?
Yeah.
So
So
there's
they'll
also,
be
it also feels like there's a lot more
Yeah.
space in there.
Yeah, because of the natural lighting.
Yeah.
Because there's all the windows, right?
Yeah,
There's
right
all the
on.
skylights, so.
And all of the office doors, these office walls are glass
So
as
they're
well.
Yeah.
all the way through
Oh, across the back there?
to- Yeah.
Yeah,
And across the front of the offices
yeah,
is all glass.
in here.
Yeah, and we can decide if we want solid or glass doors.
Yeah.
And if we want shading or what have you at the glass or how that.
So their last floor is ceiling.
Yes.
Half like that.
Well, we can.
Well, we can decide, that's still.
Well, I'm just wondering from a cost perspective, which is cheaper.
I don't know yet.
Awesome.
What's this little thing there?
Well, that's great.
That's the
It's
vestibule.
the entrance.
Best of you.
You have to have two doors, yeah.
Wow.
I think it's code or fire secrets up to code. And only on that door, not on the other, not on the back door.
Yeah.
Okay, 5.2, staffing update, work plans to September. And Helen
Yeah.
is part of yours and Jackie's also.
Yeah, so we, at the strategic planning, a question came up at council, so this was in response to council's question regarding the additional support staff, so we went through work plans, which are in your agenda packages. And, just finalized, or updated, I guess, the work plans. So I think the intent was that this committee would review them and then they would go to council. I
Sorry,
have a note about
I
that.
was distracted.
Should the work plans go to council from this committee? You and I had a meeting about the work
Yeah.
for Helen and then for Jackie
Yeah.
and myself to, with regards to the
Yeah.
backfilling of the.
Yeah, I think the question was asked at a council
It
meeting,
was asked
so I
at a
think
council
we need to report that back to council.
Okay, just,
And is it just an update in terms of what is ongoing work of this committee, including
Yeah.
our roles
Yeah.
and that?
Yeah.
So, and just so
It's
that
just
they-
providing
so
information
that they
and
are
clarification,
updated about,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, are we suggesting that we're going to include the work plans or just saying that this committee has reviewed the work plans and are proceeding with key activities that include these things, and maybe highlighting just some of the areas, the facility operation planning, the fundraising, the community engagement, the communications and fundraising.
I think since we have this on a public agenda right now, we would be, I think it would just be respectful for council to actually include this, the actual work
Okay.
plan. Yeah, just with the covering report.
Yeah, I think it's,
Yeah, and because it was, as I said, it was, council members did ask at a council meeting about it, so.
Absolutely fair enough. And I'm the
don't want to appear to be working in a silo.
No, and actually it's really important that council is aware of the work that's.
And
ongoing
supportive of,
And supportive of,
Yeah.
and hopefully can be part of that
Yeah.
going forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just again, so do we want this in this format? I don't know, Shauna, I'm wondering if we need to put in specific hours in terms of this breakdown, or just more information in terms of the actual identity of the activities.
I don't think you actually need the number of hours per week, maybe it's slightly higher.
And
do we want to walk through it as a committee, like is that, or have a quick read through? The first one, communications and fundraising,
Yeah.
is primarily what Helen is focusing on. And I guess we should just, in terms of that update too, probably everybody knows that Helen is dropping down her hours to 17.5 hours a week on this
Oh, okay.
project because she's going to be the economic
Yes.
development
She is.
officer half-time.
Yes. For what are you doing now, basically?
Both. So I'll be doing this half-time.
No, but
No,
how many hours are you doing, how much are you cutting
We're
out?
up to that.
Oh, 17.5 on both.
She's been doing 35.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all
Yeah,
right.
so she's going from, she's still
So
working
half.
full-time, but half. And so there are some things on Helen's work plan that we were going to shift over towards Catherine and Emily, who would be able to pick up some of that work.
Okay, yeah.
As part of their backfilling goals that they're currently doing.
And I just, before we get into it further, I just want to mention in terms of the timeline, so we went from May to the end of September, and that's with the expectation and anticipation that we will be hearing something about the grant application, and at that point, we will need to again update the work plan, because there will be some new and added activities. when we ended around that date.
So I thought you told us at the last meeting that we wouldn't hear until late fall, closer to December on the grant.
I think that, we don't know, that is what they're saying is late fall, but also Helen's and Riley and Kathleen's current contracts end at the end of September.
Okay.
That's
So
great.
that's why the
the
work
more
plan,
relevant
It coincides with that.
piece.
yeah, that coincides with that.
Probably a good idea, maybe we can also extend it, but I think we gotta be ready for, if it might happen in September.
It won't happen. It'll happen, because the election
Oh, they have to
is
drop it.
October 18th, they have to drop it 30 days before, so have it happen a week before they drop the writ
Yeah.
doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense, because it doesn't give it any time for blood handing and public relations and all that stuff. Which if you remember for the last federal election, the news releases and the village announcements were just blowing out blood. So, if the project's told us late fall,
Yeah. So we'll have to decide what to do beyond September.
Yeah, yeah. Have to regroup at that point, I guess. Yeah.
So, just to kind of review then what we are doing and what Helen has been working on is researching, so the database, so Kila, we still have our donation database is still live, and
that doesn't disappear.
it doesn't disappear, no. Researching funding, other funding sources, so other grant opportunities, foundations, corporations.
So do we have a list?
We have a list, and we've been in contact with a fair amount. I don't know if you want to speak to that, I haven't done this in a while, but we did have Riley contact and figure out which ones we might be eligible for.
So how many roughly?
We've not got very many that we're actually eligible for because we're a municipality, and so we're only eligible for maybe 2 or 3 with some of the private grants. But we're going to go back and look and see if we can maybe go through buyout because they're a non-profit, and see if we can leverage some of the things that are available using them rather than us, because that would open up some of the opportunities that we can use. So that would make it a bit better for us, I think, to get some of the things that we can't access. So we just need to go back through.
So that may mean we might some of the stuff out of the county tax and tendering it separately.
It
Could
just depends
possibly.
what the process is for applying and what we need to do. So we just need to look at what the rules are.
We've got community fundraising, that's kind of on the agenda to talk about a little bit later, so I'll just sort of skip through that. Communications, newsletters, press release, social media, website, and production and distribution of publication for Project Champions. We're going to talk about that in another agenda item as well. Open houses, we have done, so we were on the ferry yesterday morning, we did an afternoon on the ferry in May, and it's a really great way to engage with the public. It's a lot of people, even if they don't talk to us, they read the boards, and some come up and talk to us, some come up and give feedback. Euphemistically speaking.
Talk about swimming pools.
Talk about
All
swimming
the
pools
waters.
and, yeah, ask us if we can do anything about water.
Generally well received though?
Yes.
Generally
Oh,
well
that's
received.
good, excellent.
But,
And,
but it,
and, I mean, you're finding that there's a lot of people that
Unaware.
are unaware, yeah.
Yeah,
they are,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
I think,
It's-
and
it's really
disbelief
helpful.
that we're actually this far in the
Yeah.
process and that it could actually happen.
And some
Yeah.
people thinking, oh, well, when are we starting? When's
Yeah.
when we figure it
Yeah.
out?
Yeah.
And so they just skipped ahead and said, okay, well, this is happening, right?
Yeah, yeah. One woman
Sure.
asked if it would be open this summer.
Summer.
Oh, wow.
Well, she was coming over from
Yeah.
family, so she was
Yeah.
she had plans for it. But I think there still is a need for a lot of community engagement, and that was also, I got feedback from my own board, that there's still people who are either just not informed or misinformed, and so that I think it's really, and that's that's why we put this together in terms of more communication and more community engagement. It just is really important. And plus, we don't want to lose momentum.
Yeah.
But I think the ferry, as you say, Shauna, was so effective. I mean, people can't run away from us, but I think they're bored. There's nothing else happening really on the ferry, so they're curious.
Captive
I
audience, for sure.
think captive audience, certainly. So maybe in the fall that we should engage again in that process.
Yeah.
Because it's,
So
I had lots of
can we,
great conversations with people.
can we take over one of those notice boards on the ferry and just have at least a sketch of what it's gonna look like in a couple of pertinent details? And where we could put a little sticky on top to say, you know, we're now at this, or, because there's
That's great.
certain size and, you know, whether we take half of the double Arts Council one, or one of the general ones by the Muni one, that, on that hallway, because it's visible and people can look at it.
Yeah, I think that's a great
I'll
idea.
link to the website and get people.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So how would we do that, Allison? So we follow, like if we were going to do the Muni bulletin side, is that something that,
What's on there right now?
who?
Well, right now, the Muni,
responsible
there's
for that?
like the long one, there's 4 panels, I think, and they're about 24 by 36, I think. So there's one that's just the Muni one, which posts the island page and some of the permits. So I think that one needs to stay, but then there's 3 more beside it where general notice stuff goes.
Right.
So whether we could take one of those, or the Arts Council has a double one, and it's not really full a lot of the
Yeah,
time.
it is actually.
Well, it wasn't the other day, we could have doubled it up and got it all over again.
I think there's actually more complaints that there's, people are frustrated their stuff is not getting up there
Yeah.
because there's not enough room, so.
I'm not sure what we actually post on the municipal board.
The island page goes up every week, and so that takes a certain amount of it, and then there's the bus schedule and a few things that are really,
Okay.
Obviously,
I don't look at it.
Somebody contact BC Ferries and just
So
see
would
if
be
we can
there,
get some.
would that-
No,
they were
we
talking
don't,
about?
we're totally responsible for those boards, they're ours.
Okay.
They have nothing to do with them. So the Ferry Advisory Committee, the Transportation Committee, it's largely Ellie Allen that
Okay.
does all the tidying up and posting. So I think if we just went to the Transportation Committee and said, for the duration of the session, we need this one board, and
Well, what about beyond the boards? They won't let you put up any
no,
posters or
no,
anything
no,
outside
you
of that?
can't put anything else up.
Well,
Okay.
let's take a look at them and see what, and we have to consider them in terms of what we want to put on there and size and
Yeah.
format, things like that.
Yeah.
So
So
what
we'd
do we
want
take a look
to,
at
like,
this?
you wouldn't want to just put one thing up either because people stop looking at it, so you'd want to change it like every.
Well, if you did a general with a little thing where you could
With the
put a
website.
little sealed notice, bubble, well, today we're doing,
Yeah.
on top of it or something.
Let's check it out.
I'll take some pictures when I go today.
That's-
So who should be the contact, like who would we
Well,
talk
it's
to?
it's
the
the transportation committee.
Yeah, okay.
Well, is it the FAC?
Well,
No, it's been
well-
It's Illy Allen who's
Yeah.
taken that out.
Yeah,
She's proposed
Illy's-
a plan for the committee, everyone's been
yeah,
prosecuted.
it's the transportation committee through Ellie that's
Okay.
been and BC Ferries has nothing to do with it. When they said, here's your boards, you
Gotcha.
keep them tidy, you keep them updated. We tried not to have them under glass, not lost, but they weren't,
So David's on this committee and
Yeah.
that committee, so do you want to ask him to? Okay, so whose name is going on technically?
And then Allison can send a photograph to
Yeah.
Helen and then send.
I'll measure them.
Yeah, sizes would be awesome, yeah, thank you.
Easier to go measure than to look back in my files.
Okay.
Yeah.
The board is actually bigger than the space you can see because of the
Yeah.
glass frame, so I'll just measure the glass part, the open part.
That's amazing.
I might be on a new series.
You're allowed 3.
And this here.
So 5.3 is, are we moving on?
No, we just,
Okay, sorry.
sorry, back to the open house, we're gonna be at Canada Day,
Yes.
set up there and Go Fest. And I believe we have enough volunteers for Canada Day.
We
we have been getting
I think we're
responses from
mostly,
people
yeah, I
for
think we've
calendar day.
got enough now, I'm fairly sure we do. I may need like one more person, but if.
And then if we want to,
We'll send out a reminder to those that
Yeah.
haven't responded.
But I think if I need any more, I think it's just one, so look.
if we want to just flip over to Jackie and I, the capital project and operational management, so things that we're currently working on are the, well, the business plan, which we'll talk about a little bit afterwards as well. These are kind of bigger pieces that the committee should probably, we should probably all be conscious of and working on together, but the business plan, the joint management model for the facility, and if we're gonna have a joint use agreement or how that's gonna work in terms of, once it's operating, in terms of reference for a joint management committee. We're also working a little bit on some donor stewardship, and the fundraising piece needs to kind of pick back up again. And community fundraising activities, which we'll talk about a little bit in a bit here. And then just with the community, I mean, Jackie and I have been the ones that are on the ferry and working with working with Project Champions to produce a publication, which Helen we're going to talk about in a bit. We've been talking about kind of a summer celebration event on the site and what that would maybe just have some live music. July 25th was a date that popped out, and barbecue hot dogs or something, just to sort of bring people to the site to have a bit of a celebration that we're still doing, we're still working on it, we're still moving forward, we're still fundraising.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for the support we've had so far, and just celebrating the success of what we've already achieved, which is actually
Cut some trees
a lot.
down.
Cut some trees down. I'm gonna bring my axe.
We
We
have
can
loggers
combine it
stay
with the
there.
logger
I think it's an awesome idea, yeah.
Actually,
Is that
the logger show?
No.
July
it's
25th?
21st.
Oh, it's a Thursday. It's a Thursday
Thursday.
night. So a Thursday from like 5 till 7.
Yeah.
Very casual, but.
Really casual, but just sort of to.
Is there something else going on in the field in that time frame?
Yeah.
So,
So maybe end up just being, this committee, CSA, my board, but.
We're gonna invite,
like,
like, we're sending out invitations to people who've been key stakeholders, I think we're sending, and then we'll invite the public.
potential users.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's what you mean by
yeah.
key stakeholders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's maybe kind of stupid, but what about the idea of putting little flags out so people can visualize?
That's
where-
exactly
That's
what
what
we're
they
doing.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
We
we
wanted
want to
to
be like,
kind
this
of-
is how big it is.
Yeah.
This is
Flag
where
out
the
the
various
space.
rooms
Yeah.
will be. And,
Yeah.
So let's do a tour.
Yeah.
We'll have tours.
Walk around the building.
Yeah.
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 There's Kathy's office.
Yes.
Exactly. Do you all think it's too
You
big
want
to?
Yeah, and get some signage up there too, just to promote it,
Yeah.
would be good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, anything we can do to keep the buzz going.
Yeah,
Yeah, a little bit of the time we said here's the front door.
yeah,
Front entry was giving us an idea about actually where it is.
yeah. And then we'll also need to be talking about strategic planning for the referendum, because, as we learned previously, it takes a while. So I think, I know we're gonna have it after we know about, or the AAP, but I
Yeah.
think this group should probably start
Yeah.
figuring out what that's gonna look like, because we want to be able to do it as soon as possible after the
Yeah.
grant announcement, assuming we are successful.
Yep.
So Hope and Sophie are gonna have tons of experience moving into that because we're doing an AAP for the Copay water treatment plant in the next
Okay,
2-3 months.
okay,
Decided that yesterday's meeting.
Mm.
okay.
Yeah, so we have, because of the timing with the tender with it, we have to move quickly on it. So it will give them super great experience with an AAP. Looking at positives here.
Yeah,
And it's,
make it sound so exciting.
it sounds like that's what we would do for this.
I think so. If
Sure,
we're
that's-
successful
yeah.
with the grant, I would
Okay.
certainly recommend an AAP. I mean, that's something the committee
If we
has
get
to
the grant.
strategize,
Yeah.
if we get the grant,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
If we don't get the grant, we're
But
looking
we
at a
need
whole
to
different
be
scenario.
figuring
yeah,
that the grant applications might come right after the election, so.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
should be ready to roll.
Yeah, and this, as I said, the Cope Bay Water Treatment Plant AAP will give Hope and Sophie the comfort of exactly knowing exactly what sort of time frame they need.
Yeah, so that would be
Which is-
great to
yeah.
have, just so we can kind of
Yeah.
plan around
Yeah.
communications and,
Timeline.
Yeah,
yeah.
and they'll be aware that they have to move into that.
Well, just
Okay.
thinking, like, you don't want to do any sort of stuff in, I mean, December's just a difficult.
Yeah,
month.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it's no, we need to decide, well, okay, if they made the announcements right after, the
Yeah.
province, right after the election,
Yeah.
the feds, then is it November?
Well,
Are we
makes
ready to go, or do we wait till
Yeah.
January?
And like I said, they'll have a better idea of timelines, but what makes this an easier process is because we already have a loan authorization bylaw sitting with the province.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So if they can, and that's usually the unknown, is when the inspector of municipalities get back to us. So knowing that if we continue that dialogue with the province, saying as soon as we know about the grant, our successful grant, we need that approval back right away.
So that's maybe worth somebody making a
Yeah.
phone call to the inspector of municipalities and say, assuming how long will it take you from the date the grants are announced?
Yeah,
to
because it's sitting on their desks right
Let
now.
us
right?
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we, of course, need some time to do some the work around that. I think it's the communications part that, of course, is key in ensuring that we can
Well,
bring about it. Yes.
yeah, but then that's what I'm getting at. If he says, well, I can let you know within 2 weeks of me being told
Yeah,
Right.
that the grants are successful, then we just sort of say, well, okay, if he gets told on October 31st, if he gets told on November 15th, what's our timeline? And then
and
Yeah.
as we've discovered, our AAP process or our referendum process is concurrent to the inspector of municipalities approval, not waiting for. So we can continue down that path, and Hope got confirmation from our lawyer on
yeah,
that legislation, so.
so,
So is that, would
Well, I
Hope
think
be the
this-
best person to contact the inspector, or should that come from somebody here?
hope.
Yeah, corporate
Hope.
officer, yeah,
Hope,
yeah.
okay.
But this is the end of June, I mean, this is the middle of June, almost the end of June, so we need to do that timeline strategizing over the next month.
Well, it's gonna be done over the next month because of the Cope Bay Water Treatment Plant, and
Yeah.
they'll lay that out, it's exactly the same process.
Yeah,
So,
so,
yeah.
there will be-
Yeah, it's-
once they've done that, we need to
yeah, then plug in the
extrapolate
dates.
the
Yeah,
dates, possible dates.
exactly.
We don't want the two of them happening at the same time.
No, and they won't. They can't.
Okay.
So does there need to be a motion passed in terms of bringing that work plan forward to council?
Well, we need to-
Well, we're a little early on it,
You're talking about the
No,
work,
this-
what we were
Oh,
talking
the
about
work
earlier.
plan.
Yeah, I think so.
Two work
Yeah.
plans, yeah.
That the committee recommend approval of the work plan as presented to.
Do we send it to the
Okay.
council for approval or for
Yes.
information?
I think for information. No.
yeah.
So do we need a motion that we approve the capital
Yeah.
and operations management work plan as presented, as updated as of May 22nd? And that it be provided to council for information?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, both of them, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. The communication fundraising
Yeah.
and capital project.
And I think there's a council meeting on July 22nd, which is the last one.
That's correct. Yeah.
And July,
Yeah, but for the update, it could be the first council meeting in July.
which
July
is July 8th,
Yeah.
right? Okay, I will be here.
I think it's something that we can just put on the consent
It
agenda.
would just be on the consent,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Because it's just for information. And if it gets pulled, I mean, unless you're there for another item, we can speak to it,
Okay.
yeah.
However, somebody's gonna ask us what Greg King's theme was.
We're gonna talk
I
about
already asked that question.
Well, I didn't really see that
It's
on
on
our
our
agenda.
agenda.
That's the 5.6.
That's 5.6.
Trust me, that was one of my first questions.
All right.
All right, moving along. So we're going to 5.3?
Yep.
Okay. Municipal Funding Infographic Approval.
You guys
I
vote on
thought
that?
it was amazing.
Yeah,
Did we go on?
we never called.
Yes, give it a call.
No, my 5.2, I made the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Oh, yeah, all in favor. Just assumed.
Any questions?
Oh yeah, you won't be able to read it. Yeah, sorry,
Pretty,
because it's
though.
big. We'll have to zoom in on the screen so you can actually
Can you
read it.
get to the?
I like the colors. That's about all I can see.
Updated.
Yeah, this is updated.
Infographic.
Emily from Principal originally created
Yeah,
this
created it.
infographic, and
To
Helen
change.
just updated it for us.
Okay, so just to keep it more current in terms of
Yes.
reflecting.
Yeah, and then I
actual
moved
numbers.
everything.
Do you want to drive, Helen?
Go drive.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, so we're just bringing it to the committee to show you the updates and approval of, I think what most of the language you'll find on here is language that we've taken off the boards, that is
Yeah, so,
just to take a look.
so you'll see at the top here, let me just zoom in. This is- Okay. So you'll see at the top here, we've just got our beehive, and that's been updated with the funding, and we've just included, it didn't have this before, it just had the 2 million tax neutral, so we've just added in the borrowing here. And then I've changed everything around, it was significantly different before, so originally it was asking, you know, how we borrow tax neutrally, so now we've started off with the municipality and why we got the office in there and why it's beneficial. So we've just, this is just like it was on the original infographic. So just, you know, saying about how basically locating the offices is beneficial, you know, for the community centre and how, and some of the other things that are in the community centre as well, and basically how everything being together is actually, you know, a good thing for the community and how it's good for us. So that's what that does, and it just breaks it up into manageable bite-sized chunks for people to be able to read, and then puts everything together. And then goes on to Shauna's incredibly cheesy thing at the bottom there.
It made me smile.
And because I couldn't think of a better one, I just left it.
She was sick.
I was scared of migraine, so I was like, it'll stay. And then it goes on to the borrowing here, because obviously that is something that's super important that we get across to people, and people ask us about it all the time. And so it just talks about what it costs us right now to rent all of our various spaces. And then, you know, how the fact that 2 million of it isn't going to impact taxes, because obviously it's very important that we tell people that. And then this is from the original. This was all in Emily's original infographic about the breakdown.
You keep referring to Emily's original infographic, is that?
Which you haven't seen. It was one that they put out before, just about how we would borrow tax neutrally.
So
and
it's the previous infographic.
yeah, it's the previous
not a first
infographic
draft.
that went out in the public. And it was a little fold out that they did.
Yeah.
And it talked about how they borrow tax neutrally. It broke all of this down and you know, why it was beneficial basically. So it just breaks it down and talks about, you know, how awesome it is basically for the community and for the building that they're doing this, because it means that we save all of the rent and it goes towards the building of the building. So that's that breakdown on the left hand side, and then on the right hand side it talks about the remaining money that does impact taxes. And how much it will cost. As you see there, it costs the average property about $50 a year, that we'd only borrow funds as we need them, because I think that's probably important to point out to people so they don't go, oh my god, you're going to borrow $2 million in one go, because that's, you know, kind of a big deal. And then just saying 40,000 of that is actually going to come back to us at the end of the loan, because again I think that's quite important to let people know. And then just saying, you know, it's going to help fund the construction, yada yada yada, and people can read down there and just how it breaks out. And again, just mentioning again to people that it's beneficial that we own the space rather than renting it, because it gives us more stability as a community, you know, and it just means that it's better for everyone, and then it just pulls everything together and basically reminds everyone that it's a benefit and why it's a benefit. And then another little cheesy bee at the bottom there. So that's really a very, very quick walkthrough of the infographic. And just try to keep it bite-sized and readable for everyone. So hopefully when we print that out and hand it out to people, it will give them a bit more of a, you know, sort of lowdown on why that's going to be beneficial for people.
It's basically taking that initial one that Emily did that only had the 2 million borrowing and why it was tax neutral, and adding the 2 million that is tax affected into it, but why it's still beneficial
Why
to
it's still
have
beneficial
the
for
municipal
us.
hall in the facility.
Do we have any stats at all about, I mean, anecdotally, I think that there's probably no other municipality in BC that rent their municipal hall. I mean, if we had something to say about it.
I did.
Do they rent theirs in Canada?
Yeah, I think when I talked to the other guys, when I was phoning them about the satellite offices,
Yeah.
so I talked about 5 different municipalities, and 2 or 3 of them
Wow.
they had a mixture, so they had
Yeah.
buildings that they owned and then they had buildings that they rented.
So it's not
it
an
was a-
approach we can
it
use
was
with the
a
public
mishmash.
saying, yeah.
Of things, and because of the same position that we're in, right?
Yeah.
So it was a
Here I
mixture.
thought we were unique.
Sorry.
At least we're not above them all.
Well, it was nice to know that we're not the only ones in this situation.
Yeah.
Actually, it was kind of comforting. So.
So, looking at this tree at the bottom,
Looking at the what? Sorry, Alison? The
well,
tree. Yeah.
this one says rent payments, loan payments, but there's nowhere is there a bubble to talk about the loan payments for this.
Excuse me.
For the loan payments for the.
Well, you've plot, I mean, the whole infographic, except for this little piece here, deals with the 2 million tax neutral borrowing.
Yeah.
So you've plopped this little piece in the middle, but somebody's gonna say, okay, what's the loan payment on that?
Oh, for the 2,040,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so is there some way to,
Adjust her infographic.
well,
there?
I guess
Yeah.
putting
Is
the
this
loan
Emily's?
repayment of 127 up beside the rent payment, so it's sort of in the same, and then lowering the other one. I don't know, it's just somebody's gonna say, you're talking about borrowing 4.4, but you're only discussing loan payments on 2.
That's true.
Oh.
Well, I can look. Did you give us that when you did the, you know, when you did all your costumes for the,
I mean, he's got an average property cost of about $50 a year.
Yeah.
yeah, I'll look and see.
So theoretically, it's another 127.
Well, Raj may have told us what it is, because he broke it all out for us, so I could just adjust
Yeah.
it.
But you've got, you know, this loan. So you've got 2 loan repayments really, one for the tax
Yeah.
neutral 2 million
Yeah.
and one for the 2,040,000.
Yeah.
And so the bottom bubble's talking about this
The other
whole-
one, yeah.
It's talking about the whole
Yeah.
loan of 4 million.
Yeah,
So,
Which one is talking about the form? I kind of think breaking it out like this really breaks it out between,
oh, I have no
What we're-
problem
yeah.
with breaking it out. The
Yeah.
problem
which
is,
means there's one missing.
you've got one loan of 4 million, but you've only talked about payments on 2 million.
yeah. And because you,
So,
The
but
other
you
part is
put this
doesn't-
little bubble in here. The whole thing talks about tax neutral, except this bubble.
Yeah.
So somebody's gonna say, okay, what's the loan repayment on this bubble?
Well,
But
it
that
says
bubble is
$50.
giving
Well,
you
that's
the
$50
$50
a
a year.
year per average property, but it doesn't sort
You
of,
want the total dollar amount?
but up here you're talking about borrowing 4 million, but you're only showing a loan repayment of 127.
When
So-
theoretically it would be
Yeah,
double that.
which is gonna be,
Theoretically, yeah.
you know, double that. I don't know, it's just,
That makes
you're
sense.
you're sort of not being consistent in the numbers, if you get what I'm getting at.
we'd want to say rent payments of this, and then loan repayments are gonna be $250 or whatever. And maybe like another arrow joining it from that side or something, I don't know if you can edit it that way.
Yeah.
Somehow to
no,
show that we're
yeah.
already paying the
Yeah.
127.
But this is coming in,
Yeah.
and then additional borrowing is gonna come in, and that
Yeah.
ends up with the municipal hall.
Well, let me look at it, because that's,
Yeah.
this is all Emily's, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna look
Yeah.
and see what
Yeah.
I can do with it. But yeah, I see what you're saying,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So other than that, if we can try and amend it, are we okay to?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the little
With this.
comment about we will only borrow funds in incremental amounts as needed,
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got that on the
maybe
Muni
belongs in the
website too.
bottom.
Well, that's, I was wondering if you took that one and put it down,
Put it down where,
well, in that other bubble.
We only need, we're only gonna borrow as needed, really belongs in the bottom bubble, because it's a more, but
what, in
that's.
here?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not quite sure why the loan payment doesn't match with any of the wording that's beside it. So maybe that loan payment of 127 needs to be opposite the rent
And move the money pot down?
and move the money pot down.
If
So
you just
the
flip
rent and the loan
those.
repayment are.
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, I could do that. Let me look and see how she's designed it,
Yeah.
because I didn't look at those, so I'm not sure how she's designed these, but I'm sure I can grab them and move them. Because if we move this up, we can probably just change this figure. And so this is here, right? And I'll just change that figure, and then I'll just drop this money pot down to the bottom.
It's cute, it's cute now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll look at it and see. I'm sure I can probably do that.
That investments on the side, what does that really?
I'm not
refer
sure
to?
what that means. It's a bit
Because-
odd. I might take that off because I couldn't quite
No,
work
well,
out why
well,
she.
the
And is it-
investments
the
was
investments are
describing all
those
the
three of
things.
them,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not quite clear.
No, I didn't think it was either. I wasn't quite sure
I
what it
mean,
meant. So.
right, we are gonna own the facility, that's a
Yeah.
huge
I think that's
investment.
what she means.
Yeah,
But I think if I drop the money pot
See,
down,
this
you're
bubble
not going to read that.
Matches
anyway.
this wording.
yeah.
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 Well, I just moved those two around.
Yeah.
I wonder if it might be clearer if you did this, just out of curiosity. So if you took this bubble here,
Yeah.
put it on this side,
Yeah.
put minus 127, because you won't have
Yeah,
rent
yeah,
payments.
Yeah.
Take this bubble, put it on this side,
Yeah.
loan repayment, so it's associated with that.
Yeah.
And then have a third bubble that has basically the 2,040,000 loan repayment, like associated with your investments here. So then you've got the two showing together, you've got the 127, the 127, and then this is a minus 127, and then people really see that
Oh, okay.
neutrality.
That's a good idea.
That's a
I
good
like
idea.
that.
Yeah,
because
okay.
that was the
Yeah, that's a good
problem. It
idea.
doesn't
Okay.
necessarily-
CFO speaks. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah, okay. Let me see what I can.
All right, so
Should have
would
just
you
used the
guys?
green little dot from here, right?
Much more fun to get up.
Okay, so can we go down to the honeycomb?
Yeah, hang on, which one?
The bottom.
Yeah, okay, hang on. This one?
Yeah, having the rec offices the same color as the municipal offices makes it look like the municipal portion is way bigger than anything else.
Oh, so you want it this colour?
Well, how many of those honeycombs are the municipal offices versus?
Oh, I don't
everything
know
else?
if she did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've no clue.
But aren't the rec offices part of the
But the
municipal offices?
rec will be in the municipal office though.
But the rec-
staff.
The rec offices are part of the recreation
But it's
facility.
part of the municipal offices, so.
Oh, it's because like on the
But
second.
it's not replacing this space. they're already down there with the rec programs, and if we were doing, like, I don't know, where do the rec offices live in West End?
In the building?
In the rec building, not up at 17.
No, they live in the aquatic
Yeah.
center.
Yeah.
So, I think it would, because we're.
I think it's showing that because the rec offices are one thing we're currently renting, paying rent on, so.
Well, is that,
Now
okay,
we
so
would-
that color matches the rent, but that, I'm just thinking we're getting flack about municipal offices and the size, you know, and the amount of space, so that makes, you know, I don't know if the multipurpose room is, if those
I mean, I could do this.
honeycombs are
I don't know
representing
if she's done it as
a
representative, I'm not sure.
proportion of the space, but right now that makes it look like 3/4 of the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see
Yeah,
what you mean,
yeah.
yeah, I don't think the yeah.
I don't think it is
People are
either,
gonna
but-
read that.
Right.
that way. So maybe you just make the honeycomb all the same color. But I see why she's,
Me too.
yeah.
I mean, if your infographic is trying to show a smaller space for the municipal offices, I mean, I'm just saying, if you're trying to do that,
Yeah.
then, and you go with the rec offices being in the
Pale.
pale color, I mean, it makes it consistent with, you were talking about currently we pay rent for the rec
True.
offices, we do
True.
pay rent for the fitness studio and the weight room right now as
Yeah.
well.
So,
And you could also, you know where the little bumblebee is on the very left-hand
This
side?
guy, yeah.
I believe that is a community conference room, so you could put that in the pale as well,
Do you
because
want
it's
the little green
community
pointer?
space. No, I think everybody sees it, oh, she moved it there, look at that.
She's messing with you.
But I guess that's.
But that kind of highlights that that's community space as well, and it makes your municipal space look smaller,
Yeah.
to
So
the
yes,
to
the
the point you were
question
getting to, Allison.
What is her, you know, if she's linked the loan repayment and rent payments to the, plus the pinky green color, then, but she hasn't done it correctly, because as Raj says, we
Yeah.
rent the fitness studio, we rent the weight room. So, or if it's linked back to physical space, then it should be totally different color.
Excuse
I mean, I think it links to that second honey, you've got the honeycomb up above where it has like the red and the blue and
Yes.
the green and all the different uses. And then just because this one then just shows like those,
Everything
that
together.
we're currently renting, right, whereas the one above showing everything, it shows, okay, the municipal office looks smaller.
And that's for the breakout by color.
But she hasn't got what we're currently renting, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because
Right,
we
using the
rent-
size, right?
We rent the fitness studio
Yeah.
and we rent the weight room.
Right, but I think like that's showing everything we rent, but it's colored, I think, based on the previous one, which is trying to show like what are offices versus like public space, the fitness and the.
Right.
But then she hasn't got all the public spaces because the office, some
Yeah.
of the meeting rooms are gonna
Yeah.
be public. I just don't really like the visual of showing the municipal offices being such a big proportion down there.
Yeah, it's not as big, obviously, the top one, it's not the
Yeah.
same, but
And the really nice ones
Oh,
don't make
and
sense.
you didn't read
Because
it.
I think this is an updated version though.
if you look at the multi-purpose room,
Well, the multi-purpose room should be much bigger because they're.
well, it is on this one, it's always the
Yeah.
blue one. so-
Yeah.
but that's another multi-purpose one, that's the,
I don't think that little honeycomb down there serves any purpose, and it's confusing.
Well, I think it's
Compared to
because if
that
you look
one.
at the top of the tree,
Oh,
she's got
it's,
all the things
Gotta
at
be
the top
consistent,
there.
yeah.
See, and
So she's
got
just
all
tying
those-
it all together.
And
down
she's
to the
tied them all
bottom
together at the bottom.
To show it's
I
all
think that's
coming
what
into
she's
one
done.
Right here, the
building.
arrow,
Yeah.
So that's what she's
it's very
done.
tan.
Well, then make it all the same color.
Right, because that makes sense too, because here we're showing all the components and here it's all together at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe just make them all pale, because it's easy to
Make
read.
it all
actually.
pale.
Make it all pale yellow.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And then B's comment makes sense, come together, but when Al, we were there, it's all together, we're all together.
Yeah.
so you're gonna take that away and,
She's missing a unfilled in one. like you've got this one on this side, but how you got this one?
I think it's those ones though.
It's these
Alpha Bear
ones.
on the
It's
But
screen.
the
then
tree
like
ones.
the little dot, I mean, you're trying to say come together, so these little, she's got an unfilled in one there,
Just
but
had
she hasn't
needles
put the
and
other
stuff
one
on
in,
it.
so this space is now smaller than this space.
Right.
It's an interesting one.
I think because that top one is showing the whole
But
facility.
why is she only showing some
On
on the bottom and not all?
But it's nice
Yeah.
that, and of course, that we can't.
I'm not sure that we can manipulate
Well, we're
it as
seeing
much as,
Yes.
Yeah.
like, to add more honeycombs.
But I guess then the question is, do you know, I think the way it is right now, it's gonna send a message that we've got this massive municipal offices and a little bit of everything else.
Well, I think we definitely have to be conscious of that. And
Because that's one of the biggest dots.
that's, it is sort of an optical on that, but I don't know how to change it. The whole thing seems kind of odd to me. I find it hard to understand. Because those arrows are going into that, and they should be coming out of there, aren't they? Shouldn't
Because
they?
they've got the top ones going out and the bottom ones going down. I mean, we think about people using family trees, so you start with the two at the bottom and you keep getting bigger, or you start with the parents at the bottom and add all the branches, so.
Just needs a little clarification. That little thing with the B and the line, is that meant to be in there as a line for bubbles?
Which am I looking
Sorry.
at?
Well, just
The
this
dotted line
little
maybe?
dotted line, or is this just
I think
graphic?
it's just fancy.
Well, if it's just fancy, unfortunately, it's separating things visually, I think. So this should all be on one side.
It's making them look like bubbles.
Yeah. That, in my mind, it is anyway. But
Now, you can go and ask a bunch of left brain thinkers what they think about it. Are we right brain? I can't remember which is what, Ken or Ken.
so, any other comments on this, or are we just like, I'll take it away and come back?
No, so you got a bunch of right brains looking at this. So I bet your left brains would look at it quite differently.
Well, I think we have a few of our left brains here too.
Yeah, I think we might be just overthinking it a bit, because I don't think people will
Yeah.
look that closely
No.
at it.
I think you're right.
I get a comment from myself every time we drive up the hill on the beehive. Where the lines are on that beehive, and he says, you haven't raised that much money, or you've raised more than that, or less than that. He comments on that every time we go up the hill,
Fundraising,
about where the lines are on that beehive, and then where the narrative matches up the beehive.
We're gonna move on to 5.4. Project Champion.
Yeah, so this is,
Document.
It's a document.
Communication themes.
Project Champion communication theme, so there's been a couple,
There's no document,
no, I know,
so I'll cross it off.
yeah, we do not have a document.
but the intent is to create a document. There's been some requests from people from the public, our champions, saying, I've been talking to people, but I don't know who to give that, or, I don't have anything to refer to. I mean, yes, there's there's the website, but they don't want to go to the website necessarily.
This is a document.
There's the document,
There is a
It
document.
is in process.
This is the layout.
So the-
We've talked about a layout for a document, and this may be something that we end up mailing to all the mailboxes.
But this would also be used as a cheat sheet.
But this
for-
would be
Yeah.
used
That's
as a
awesome.
cheat sheet
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
council,
Talking points.
project
Yeah.
champions,
Really.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Staff like me,
staff,
Yeah.
anybody who's kind of,
yeah,
Talking about
peripherally
it.
involved,
So
yeah.
a cheat sheet.
Yes.
Yeah, because we have our case for support, but we don't really have any other.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
so the idea at the
Folded
moment is an 11 by
So
17 piece of paper folded into 3.
Like a map.
Like a map.
So
on the back.
multi-purpose cheat sheet for us and cheat sheet for the
Yeah.
public.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be something on the back.
Yes, the
Yes.
front and back, panels, like,
So
as you
there's the
see
back.
there, panels of the three. Helen and I went through.
Who I know, pool, etc.
About what we thought was important to be on it.
Have to have something on
Just got me
operating-
excited, you had to read,
So
I just
that's-
read the takeout
I know.
pizza, we're gonna have takeout pizza? I'm sold, I wasn't before.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Out of my office.
This could be what we put on the ferry.
That would
Yes,
be a perfect
Yes.
Because
area.
they're 24 by
Yeah.
36, so that would run, two of them
yes.
would fill in,
Yeah.
perfect.
So we're taking from the boards that have been currently created, some of the issues that we know have been coming up. Private versus public.
Yeah, that's.
We made a list yesterday.
We did,
that I
I've got
can
them,
write
yeah,
down.
yeah.
Social benefits.
Can I just say it on your, can you go back to your your last slide?
Yeah.
I really love how it ends, number one thriving community, as that graphic goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thanks.
Good job on that.
Thanks. Yeah. I didn't actually read it, but yeah.
And
I was trying to read the
again,
Latin
saying
on
we need
the
to
next
add
page.
something on operating, what's it gonna cost to operate this, because that's.
I'm not sure if it's 4 movie tickets based on the price of the new cinema.
So it'd be like two adults and 2 kids.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
So,
Yeah, so we put that, then this
Jackie, what do you,
one.
like, how detailed in the operating?
I think
Because
it's
I think
So
we
you're getting
want
that
this
question, right, so what's
ready.
gonna cost taxpayers to operate this? So we
Yeah,
need-
you can
So
ask
that,
that.
we can have that discussion about the business plan and then
Yeah.
get back to answering that one, but it's, yeah, it needs,
Yeah.
it's just stating that what would be feasible is not enough information, so
Yeah.
we'll have to back it up with some numbers, I think,
Yeah.
what an average was.
On here.
Yeah, I think so.
So what's
Yeah.
Again,
I've got that.
again, that's what I was asked for, you know, that's what people.
Yeah, go
What's the
through the
time
last
frame?
one. On the-
As soon as possible, really.
Just
We
like-
want- we wanna get
Not
that
for
one.
Canada Day or
Oh,
for Boca?
Canada.
Probably
Say that
not
again?
for Canada.
What?
You know, in timeline,
For this?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, this will be done really
For
soon.
Canada Day?
Yeah.
Not if we have to come up with an operating budget.
No, well, we could do something really
Well,
good.
could you plot something in here as a filler for now, if it's an
We
innocuous
do
something?
have
Yeah.
some,
Lights
we
with
do.
a-
Because you've got some
Operating
already, haven't you? You could probably put something like broad.
So based on our, and we talked about the business plan and the operating budget in a minute, but there is an increase in operating costs for the municipality to run the
Yeah.
facility.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we need to be okay to say that. I mean, that's clear and that's.
We have to be transparent.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely, so, so just trying to, it's not insignificant, based on the figures that we've worked with.
It's a relative term, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? But,
Convenient term.
yeah, I mean, we were talking about $100,000 increase over what the operating costs are right now, so. At any rate, so just stating that, I think it's really important to include that information, so I can,
Is that
wording on that.
2% on our tax bill?
About 2%, yeah. I think we had done that analysis
Yeah.
when we gave it to the finance committee.
Yeah,
So you've got that, right?
yeah.
We do,
Okay.
yeah.
And it might also be important then to talk about the endowment
Yes.
fund, because that could potentially be halved by getting money from the endowment fund every year.
Yeah.
Actually, you don't want to fund operating costs from an endowment fund. I think you're
That's what
operating.
the endowment fund's for.
Oh, is it for fund?
Yeah,
It's
It's
for operating.
It's specifically. yeah.
Specifically for operating?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's 5%.
So we'd have to do some analysis into how far down the road it could fund your operating costs, because when, or would you just use the interest?
You
So
just
Only
use
use
it.
you just use the interest from it, okay.
But
So
you
you'd
want
have
to
to
keep building.
calculate what the interest would be so that your principal stays intact, and that would offset your tax
Yeah.
increase.
Right.
But this is
Okay.
predicated on,
That's what an
Yes,
endowment
yes.
fund
It
is.
being an endowment,
Yeah.
yes.
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 I'm trying to be delicate
Yes.
here.
Right,
Yes.
actually, including that as one of the revenues already.
He's still
So
alive.
it's, yeah, oh, it's $5,000.
Yeah.
But if you get the 1 million, anyhow. So, yeah, there's great wordage on the board about the revenue sources. So just including the revenue sources where.
Yes.
So that's what
Yes.
they've written.
5%'s a little bit for a rate return,
Right. 3 in there.
yeah. Well, you have to go look and see what the Bank of the Foundation was.
Yes.
Okay, so at this
So
point,
we'll get this together.
everybody's okay with the layout, and
Yeah.
we'll send it out by
Yeah,
email.
we'll send it out, yeah, once it's,
Good, yeah.
Done.
Okay?
Yep.
So you want my Paddington Bears, do you?
Okay, so the 5 bears and the bye-bye Paddington.
So the switchback grizzly that Catherine Jenkins had donated as an auction item,
Yeah.
wasn't getting a lot of bidding action, and we thought that maybe because it's too much, the starting bid is $2,500, I think.
Yeah, but that's not an unreasonable starting bid for that.
No, but
No.
Catherine approached Gary, and I don't know if you want to speak to this around.
Do you want to do this at an open meeting? That's being videoed? Yeah.
No, she, you know, and Catherine, she's a very generous donation.
Is it an open meeting discussion?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. Very generous contribution to our fundraising. And she just suggested that maybe if it was, you know, rather than one piece of 2,500, she has this much smaller bears, and those, and, you know, we get the equivalent in the smaller bears, and she thought that they might move a little bit faster, because then they'd be in the,
Better price point.
yeah, better price point.
Yeah,
So-
they're around valued at 500.
Yeah.
She said she was gonna donate 5 of them.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
Just
so-
to swap it out, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's,
instead of having Paddington as we named him.
yeah, okay, it's called Paddington.
Shauna named it.
I named him. Well, he was going places. Then we would have the five bears, and one of the ideas is to have 3 of those 5. Maybe we wanted to see what people thought about having one at the Cove Commons, one here, and one at the library. All like for a while, like until maybe September, October, for people to silent auction, be able to bid, and then the other 2, we would auction off at a live auction at the, at a fundraising event, like in the fall, which we'll talk about in 5.6.
Yeah, I think it gives us a lot more
Yeah.
flexibility.
So that was that was just an idea around having them.
I love the
That
name,
one.
but I have no idea where I would put it.
Very imagine.
My name is not big enough.
Make a new one.
We have to stick out this far.
So Gary, you're gonna be in touch with Catherine?
Yeah, I tried to get a couple of times on the phone yesterday, it didn't work, so I sent her an email, so I talked to her today about switch over.
Okay. Awesome. Great. So that was it for the bears.
Okay, party.
Party, so we talked about the summer party.
Yeah.
I guess just
Drag queen.
hoping that people are okay with that.
Everybody can put that on their calendar. So that
July
they can-
25th, it's a Thursday from 5 till 7.
Oh, this is the picnic thing.
Yeah.
And we are still, okay, and drag queen bingo was an idea that came up, and it is exactly what it sounds
Sounds
like. So I don't know, I haven't been to it, somebody else, Jackie and Helen, maybe you guys can spearhead this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it is an option for a fundraiser. Other organizations have done it and quite successfully, and there was one ongoing, right?
Yeah, they've had it a couple times on board.
Oh, I
I've
don't
been to
know.
it.
Really?
Of course I
Yeah.
can do
What did you
it.
think of it?
Hilarious.
So fun.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
bingo, but she's sassy.
Yeah.
Actually, Daniel's house is right behind the Legion, where that is. And the prizes, and everyone kind of gets the energy is contagious, so people are.
Well, it's certainly something different to do here, which
Yeah.
is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, is that more of a rainy day type event?
That's like a November
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
event. We'd be planning it for
Tentative.
November.
So it's like a regular bingo game?
It is,
Yeah.
but it's just not like,
Yeah.
bingo!
Yeah.
Everyone
And they-
gets
and you-
excited.
It's a little flashier.
And they,
Musical interludes.
your person's like an entertainer, right? So they do a bit of an act, and yeah, it's really good. And the person that we often get over is Connie Smudge. It's that comes over and does it. So that's one of the people that they get. That's really good to do the drag queen bingo. But there's actually tons of them that do it. So we can look around and see who's available and who would be good. And yeah, so I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Sounds like fun.
And
Yeah.
Where's the revenue generated there?
people pay.
They pay for the
Pay
cards,
the cards.
so you pay for tickets,
Yeah.
and your
Tickets
ticket,
or cards?
your ticket,
Oh,
well,
it's
you pay,
for-
well, your ticket covers your first card, and then if you want to buy additional cards, then you can
Okay.
do it that way. And then obviously they usually sell drinks as well, so you get revenue through the alcohol too. So that's the two ways that you make money with.
And then
with that event.
we'd also like to have the
Fun auction.
entertainer do a live auction
Yes.
at the event. So we'd be looking for
Yeah.
auction items
Yeah.
again, just to put
There's
that
the
out there.
bears.
So we'd have 2 bears for sure.
We have a piece of gorgeous art piece from Jane Kenyon, who's very well known, and that's a little bit of money. And also Paul Houston has is it a banjo or no? Is that
It's a ukulele.
that he is willing to donate. So, so there's a few items so far.
And I
But
got a
if you get
contact
trip experience-
yesterday from Fort Langley Air. So they might do something.
Or Langley.
Fort Langley Air.
Okay.
John's been working with them, John Steiger.
Oh.
So that might be somebody that we can
Yeah.
talk to.
Right on.
So we could raise, I mean, we probably won't hit 10,000, but, 5,000, and at the same time, we will be creating, again, excitement,
Yeah,
momentum around the
that's the key.
project,
And that's the
timing
key
would be
part,
the right,
yeah.
yeah.
And that would be timing quite close to potentially the
So
AAP,
potentially,
and maybe we could even announce if we
Maybe
got
it'll be a
grant.
celebration.
Maybe it'll be a
It's gonna be a ton of fun.
Maybe people can fill out their AAP applications.
Yeah, that's right.
Beside their bingo card.
Out there, yeah.
Beside their bingo card.
Look at the name, community center.
What do we have to do
Well, that's awesome.
Okay, so that's coming.
So you figure that in November sometime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're
Tentative date.
aiming for November, July 25th.
Oh, well, we were
July 25th.
thinking we'd do it at the Cove Commons, sorry, we should have mentioned where.
That's
we
right.
would
No,
do it.
I was talking about
the bingo at the
Yeah.
co-commons?
Yeah.
Is that loud there?
There's been mitigation of logistics, and there will be carpet in there by then,
So, if it's loud event,
Yeah.
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 Hmm.
so.
We may have to talk to the neighbors.
Yeah. Okay, 5.7, back to business plan.
Business plan, right, so this is something that Shauna and I have been working on, and we do have a draft of a 30-page document, and I don't believe this committee has seen it yet, but it really covers everything from, background information about the project, also aligns strategically with the municipality, includes the capital budgets, and then the operating budget, and we have just the operating budget that you have all seen, which is for 1 year only, but we wanted to expand that to be 3 or even up to 5 years as part of this document. Also information on governance and management, a bit about risk assessment, project risk assessment, and implementation strategy, and then some appendices. So it's definitely a document that's in progress, and we would like some help with it. And there's some key people that we would like to especially draw in to take a look at it. You actually took a look at it, I think, at one of the open houses. We had a copy of the comments.
yeah, we were looking.
And there's, there's not all the information that we have included need to be included, but there may be things missing as well. So we just would like, it's called a business plan.
Oh, it's just a business.
And we just, we basically use a template for any standard business plan. A couple things that we think is important to include, and other people have been asking, is for the big picture of lowering costs for the municipality, to include that maybe even as a appendice of some sort, because that comes up too in terms of, and that will come up, of course, when we move towards that AAP. What is the total cost that we're looking at as taxpayers for all of this borrowing?
Sounds like a finance.
Yeah, it's lots of finance, but it's not just in finance, it's also on government and management. So those are, yeah, so we're just, again, wanting to, as we are working on it and trying to, and then of course it'll come back to the committee eventually, but at this point it's still pretty rough.
Yeah, okay.
So who could we kind of call on or work with as a bit of a extended team?
I'm the one that's gonna
Yeah,
I said, I'm the one that's gonna ask all the
Okay,
questions.
okay, so
And
that,
then-
Well, you know,
I
as,
think-
as an initial step, I can have a look
Just
at
take
it,
a
and
look
then
at
if we
it
have to have
initially.
somebody else outside the organization, like our
yeah.
auditors look at it, we can call on them, because that way we've had a third party kind of
Yeah.
review it, third party independent of staff member
right.
look at it as well, so I'd definitely be happy to.
And I
How
think
about we
the,
send
and
it
the
to
finance
you
committee
as
too,
well, too?
at some point.
Look. And the municipal
Yeah.
finance committee?
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
And so we'll go to the finance committee?
So I think at this, but not at this point, I mean, it's
Okay.
still really rough, so if we could start by sharing it with Raj and Allison, and maybe then we can have an initial meeting to get together, you guys can give us some feedback and comments and go from there. That'd be great, thank you.
And then maybe a couple of people on the island who use writing business plans for things.
Okay,
Sure,
great.
thank you.
That's great, that's nice to have that sort of package
Starting to
coming
take
together.
form.
Yeah,
Mhm.
'cause that's a huge one.
And we're still doing some other work, background work, that will help inform that. For instance, we are looking at some of the models and other agreements as far as, again, joint use agreements, things like that. Talking to other people about how things would work in that space in terms of operating.
Yeah, and Presentation House, for example, works closely with North Van Rec Commission, so
Okay.
that would be possibly a similar model that we might look at, as well as K-Meek.
Yeah.
We've spoken with Rob Brewer about that.
Talking to West Van, their cultural services, talking to them. to see how-
K-Meek is operated by who, what's that?
It's their their own
Independent?
society.
Their own
Yeah, right,
society.
Okay.
Same as the rec center,
Yeah.
there's a society.
Oh, interesting.
But they are, yeah, they receive funding from the municipality, and they also make, it's the performing arts space for the community.
Yeah, we certainly have to sort of, we want to make sure that nobody can come and pick that apart either, you know. So we should be fairly conservative about it. Because that's going to be a huge item out in the community, there's no question.
Yeah.
The ongoing costs.
Well, if people are asking, how are we gonna afford to operate?
They-
Yeah. Just raise taxes.
And what's the cost, what's it gonna cost to rent it, so we've got some
Yeah.
information on that,
Compared to other spaces on the island as well as compared to
Yeah.
other
Other
communities.
communities.
reasonable.
Yeah.
And so again, we've looked at other models in terms of like Salt Spring, what's it called,
Art Spring.
Art Spring, thank you. You know, what they charge in terms of their facility, and Katie, we looked
Yeah.
at, so.
And our spring started out thinking they could do it on their own, and they've now created a regional district service area and taxing for the operations.
All right, well, that's very exciting. Thank you for all your work. It's obviously a lot going on behind the scenes here. Well, incredible.
And what we were trying to 2 weeks ago.
So next meeting, as, TBD, just leave it.
I think
Just leave it open.
TBD, I think
Yeah.
we'll circulate the communication piece for the champions and the themes, we'll circulate that by
Mhm.
email.
Okay,
The timeline and where we might be with the referendum or AAP. If we break in August, then is September
Yeah.
late to make that decision, or do we want to do it at the end of July? When's Hope gonna be ready with Hope AAIP process?
Well, we're bringing it forward for council direction
So
on
I'm
Monday.
thinking we should have a very short July meeting to talk about timelines and, okay, if the announcement's made and if, you know, how we might go forward, or is September time to make that decision?
I think September, maybe even early or late August. I think Hope she's gonna have to really concentrate on Cope Bay, and I think July is just gonna be a really busy time for her. We'll ask her.
Well, I'm just
Instead of
saying,
me
timing wise,
being
if
overprotective.
we were wanting to be ready to go at the beginning of November,
Yeah.
then would we have to make decisions by?
Well, let's ask Hope when she will be comfortable meeting with the committee and presenting a timeline and doing that strategizing. I think she's key to that conversation.
Absolutely. Anybody got anything else to say with Rona? Move to adjourn?
20 minutes, 11:30.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right.
Really, really good progress.